held virtually. We've just come out of a closed meeting session where we discussed a number of items for which I will now read into the record the motions arising. But first of all, I'd like to ask Council if there are any declarations of pecuniary, a conflict of interest with respect to the following subject matter. Seeing none, then I will move along, and I have a motion here by Councillor Pro, seconded by Councillor McGinn, that Council herein receives as information the verbal update provided by the Chief Financial Officer and the town's external legal counsel regarding the status of a development charges appeal, and that Council herein endorses the proposed recommendations and directs staff to proceed as directed within the closed session. Council, you've heard the motion. Comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimously. Next, I have a motion moved by Councillor Gordon, seconded by Councillor Cunningham. The Council receive as information the verbal report provided by the town solicitor in closed session regarding confidential letters addressed to members of Council, and the Council confirms its direction to staff on how to proceed respecting the matter. Comments or questions on this item? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That is unanimous as well. Next, we have a motion moved by Deputy Mayor Ross, seconded by Councillor Olszewski. The Council receive as information the training, legal advice provided by the town solicitor in closed session. Comments or questions, Council? Seeing none, all in favor? And that too carries. Thank you very much. Next, I have a motion by Councillor Downer, seconded by Councillor Prost, that the contents of the regular council with closed session agenda for March the 3rd, 2021 be approved as amended. Comments or questions? Read the agenda. Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That carries unanimously. So I next have a motion moved by Councillor McGinn, seconded by Councillor Main, that the items and related recommendations contained within the March 3rd, 2021 consent agenda as consent items having been considered by Council be adopted. Do we have any comments or questions around that before I call the question? Councillor Main.
Yes, thank you. Two comments. One, I just want to thank the resident again for writing a letter expressing gratitude for the great work by our operations department to free do snowing removal on trail systems and sidewalks in and around the Aberdeen area. People know, as this is the pandemic, is everything is outside. Outdoor recreation is solo recreation is really one of the only things that we have going, and so very appreciative of all the hard work, and thank you for the community for letting us know. Again, if you have compliments, please send them our way, and if you have criticisms, certainly send them along as well by email or go online, the E11 system. But we do very much appreciate the feedback and comment from the community. And I'm not sure if it was pulled, if it's on the consent agenda, but I would love for Mr. Janot to kind of highlight the fantastic customer service report and just highlight kind of the next steps of how we can go implementing some of these long overdue customer service improvements for municipal services. Thank you.
Heads up.
Pardon me?
I hope you gave him a heads up.
I did, certainly.
Good for you. That's good. Mr. Janot. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Worship, and through you to Councillor Main and the rest of the councillors who I'm sure are interested in the report as well. Yes, there is a report that we published. It was by CSPN, who we commissioned to do this study. It was a grant we received through Modernization to look at how we could improve our customer service offerings that we do in the municipality. This was done, commissioned before I joined the municipality, but I certainly look forward to the results of the study. So we did have a number of meetings with them as they prepared this study. The report came up with, I believe, about 25 key recommendations in there. There's 5 priority ones that I think will be consistent with some of the work that we're looking at in terms of a customer service strategy here that focus on certainly the vision we have for customer service in the municipality. training to make sure that people understand how to deal with our customers effectively. Triage. There's always lots of work to do, and you want to make sure that you're handling them appropriately, taking care of those ones that are certainly important for safety, but handling all of the needs of the customers. And of course, using tools that will be much more effective and deliver some efficiencies to the operation. So those 5 areas were highlighted through the report. As I mentioned in my 100-day report in January, this report joins a previous report that was done, I think, in 2017 by another outside firm. We're also receiving another report by Optimus, which was done across North Simcoe, looking at how we could potentially do things more efficiently and collaborate. And there's even a further study being done at the county level looking at service delivery reviews across a number of particular things. So lots of analysis that really needs to come together. And again, in the 100-day, we allude to that as a senior leadership team. We want to take this information and make sure that we have a practical plan that we can execute as a town team to deliver what is really necessary this year. Customer service, without question, is one of those areas that we want to reinvent a bit. We've got fantastic people who are really dedicated to serving this community. We just want to help them and give them the right tools to certainly do that and make sure we're being effective in delivering that. So certainly we're hoping first quarter, maybe towards the end of first quarter, we'll come back with a fulsome report on how we're going to attack customer service, but we're really looking forward to doing that.
Councillor May.
Well, I just want to compliment the consultants. It's a very nice looking report. It did struggle a bit with all the acronyms, so maybe some customers' feedback on the report, making it a little bit easier to read. But it was very eye-opening that they were able to articulate some of the issues that we've been struggling with articulating, and seeing them written down in language. It was saying, oh, finally somebody took pen to paper and wrote out some of these issues that we've been having. And I think all of the customer service upgrades are going to be greatly appreciated. So thank you again, and thanks to the consultant for the support.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Gordon.
Thanks. It was a bit of a beast to read, but it is very visually appealing and easy to follow if people are interested. I had a question about the one of the recommendations to establish a CRM solution or customer relationship manager platform. Perhaps I just naively assumed that we had something like that right now. And I'm not sure whether they're suggesting an upgrade or something we actually don't have. So that's part one. And part two was the acquisition or licensing of a CRM, perhaps within the Microsoft stack, something that was included in the budget that we approved this year? Or is this going to be an ask for next budget in the fall?
Mr. Dunham.
Thank you. Through you, your worship, to Councillor Gordon. No, we don't have a CRM solution in the budget ask. We do have a CRM solution of some kind that we use today. It in fact is, we actually got an email today with some enhancements that are being added to it. So we're looking at some of those enhancements. So it does provide some pretty good capability. I think we want to make sure that we test that to see if it is in fact what we think is what we need. So we'll take a look at what we have today. If we think we need to enhance that, we'd obviously include that any budget asks that come out of it. But I think in terms of the strategy that you'll see this year, we're going to use some of the tools that we have today. There is a commitment to update some of our telephone technology, which I think will be a really important enhancement to our customer service. So that tool on its own will enhance it. And we've also got some commitment to work on our data strategy. So having effective tools that allow you to get to processes and procedures and storing information leads to a much more effective organization and frees up people. So I think those tools alone are pieces that we're going to concentrate on now. Our existing CRM solution will focus on today.
Thank you, Mr. Deneau. Any other comments on this matter? Seeing none, then I'll ask the question. All in favor of the motion for the consent agenda? Thank you. That carries unanimously as well. And then with that, I have a motion by Councillor Olszewski, seconded by Councillor Gordon. The council resolve into the committee of the whole. All in favor? Thank you. That carries. And over to you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Welcome, everybody, this evening. We're now in the committee of the whole. Tonight, we have no presentations. We have no deputations, no public hearing. But next item would be the COVID update from our CAO. Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and happy to provide you with a COVID update on what's happening with the town and the town services that we're providing. So in Midland today, as of today, 128 cases in Midland. The last case was recorded February 17th, so that's good news. You know, we haven't seen a case in some time. In Penetanguishene, 125 cases, and you've heard of some of the outbreaks that Penetanguishene has been dealing with, so their numbers have gone up, as ours did when we saw a tremendous jump in December. Tiny's got 52 cases, Tay 75 cases, and some of theirs are more recent as well. So the virus continues to be circulating in the community, and as we've seen, if it takes a hold, it can be quite treacherous. Just to remind everyone, the type of virus that is dominant now in Simcoe, and Dr. Gardner's alluded to this, is the UK virus, which spreads quite rapidly and is quite devastating. This was the one that was rampant in Roberta Place, as we know, where 71 people died and over 200 people were infected. This is really the reason why you saw Dr. Gardner suggest to the provincial government that we should go into lockdown again. This is why you're seeing Toronto and Peel most recently. I think today their chief medical officers are recommending that the government, that they go into lockdown again. And indeed, what you saw the government do was put Simcoe into that gray lockdown. So that is the situation and some of the reasons behind that. Certainly as a town, we continue to look at what we continue to do to support our residents. Our town hall services, we're continuing to do restricted walk-in service for our customers, and we talked at great length with our wonderful customer service reps. So I'd like to thank Marley and Melanie for tremendous work they're doing. They certainly feel safe, and in fact, they advocated to continue to serve our customers in that manner. They felt it was the safest way for them and the customers to get the service. The one thing they did say is if you're going to pay with cash, please don't lick the bills. You know, they'd ask you not to do that. That's not a comfortable exchange that they want to have. So they asked me to make sure that was called out. But again, we're taking a good number of services in person, but we're really trying to plan when we service our customers. So we've got, if you go to our website, you'll see which ones we're asking you to do by appointment. And again, that's to make sure we can space people when they come into the facility and make sure that we've got the right staff available. If we can, we'll handle it virtually and do it with a phone call or a virtual meeting. So everything seems to be working well. We have got lots of positive feedback from the public on that, and so we'll continue to do that. The other piece of news, obviously, is yesterday at our rec center, we opened the vaccination clinic along with the health unit. So the health unit is running that vaccination clinic. We're providing the facility. It'll be there for some time as the vaccine continues to come in. So certainly into the fall, we expect that to be happening. But a tremendous amount of work and this happened while we were in budget deliberations last week. Tremendous amount of people came together quite quickly to get this to happen. And if you know anything about having people operate in your facility, you have to go through insurance, legal. You've got to certainly deal with our unions as is required, and also our partnering municipalities. All of that came together really quickly. I really want to give a shout out to Sean Barreau and to Gord Roche, our deputy fire chief, who were the two lead people on this, who made this come together. By all reports, the first day yesterday went really well. 228 people were vaccinated at that facility. So that's great news. And hopefully as more vaccine comes in, that will continue to happen. The public response at the facility, again, was very positive. So it sounds like things are working well. And obviously we'll continue to make sure that it is effective All of this is being done by the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. So you don't call the rec center to get your appointment. Go online, and there's a number online that's available as well. We'll make sure it's up on our website. You can contact them. I think they're sold out right now in terms of booking vaccine appointments, but continue to go there. And when vaccine becomes available, if you're eligible, you can book your appointment through them. So with that, I just wanted to again thank all of the staff for what they're doing to continue to offer the services that they're doing. They're continually stepping up to the plate, making those adjustments that you need to do when the provincial guidelines change somewhat. But we're really working hard to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe, including our employees and the public. So I welcome your questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and great to hear that we're having this vaccination center at our rec center. What a perfect place for it, and hopefully we can get everyone in there as fast as possible. Your worship, I saw your card. Anyone else?
Hey, Deputy Mayor, I just had a person phone me yesterday, very frustrated that their 90-year-old father was going to have to wait until July the 24th to be vaccinated, and couldn't understand why that was. So I tried to explain to her that right now they're ramping up a number of facilities. I think the number will eventually be 16, and they're also ramping up the number of vaccination stations per facility, so that vaccine permitting and the scaling up, or the increasing the diameter of the pipe, so to speak, that date will come closer and closer to the present day. Was I correct in telling that individual that, and perhaps just for the general public, to let them know that that's the case? Could you confirm that, Mr. McGinn?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure the circumstance of why they're waiting till July. If you can get an appointment, I mean, obviously there might be some physical restrictions on how far they can go to get an appointment. But much like the flu shot, if you were able to get one at wherever it was available, you could expedite, the process. I think, quite frankly, we're somewhat limited. And when I say the province is somewhat limited in the amount of vaccine that's available. As more vaccine becomes available, I think they're going to obviously open up more spots for those people to get the vaccinations done. So hopefully before that July date, as long as people continue to check, I think they'll ramp up just as quickly. That's one of the reasons why they're in facilities like ours, to allow them to have some capacity to expand. I know there's lots of people who have healthcare backgrounds who are volunteering to try and assist. So I don't think that's an issue. I think it's a bit of a throttle on the actual vaccine itself.
Follow up, Your Worship.
Thank you. I just think it's important for people to understand that there are two factors at work here. One is the capacity of the facility as it ramps up. And as you point out, it's also the availability of vaccines, both of which are projected to scale up fairly quickly and hopefully in unison. And that really, to my mind, this July 23rd date for a 90-year-old, that suggests we won't be finished until 2023, 2024, which I don't think anybody believes is the case. So just for the public to understand that when they get that sort of a date, make sure you do register, because now you're in the queue. And as that capacity increases, you will move closer and closer to today's date to be vaccinated. So please do register. Don't just hang up in frustration or whatever, because I think it's a function of how the system is actually looking at the capacity, doing a calculation and saying, I can only do so many. That means you're out in July. When in reality, as they increase the capacity or increase it, and the date closes up. I think it's important people know that. So please don't give up. Register your name, and you will get a call.
Mr. Duno?
Thank you. If I could add on to the point that the mayor said, people need to understand that this is literally day one that this vaccination center has been operating, and the health unit, the help desk that is supporting taking the calls, the online service that is supporting taking the online registrations. I mean, they're all working, but the capacity of them are needs to ramp up, as does the vaccine. So I know we did get confirmation from the health unit they're adding more more lines for the telephone because they're getting a lot of telephone inquiries. So if you were on hold or getting busy, hopefully that will be taken care of as they add more capacity for that perspective. And as the vaccine becomes available, of course, they will open up more slots for people to book getting their vaccine. But as you said, Mr. Mayor, I encourage you to check back regularly with the health unit website. You'll have the most up-to-date information on what's available. And these people from certainly my experience, I've turned up lots of services like this quickly. This is a phenomenal job. That was done to get this done in an extremely short time frame. So, there's a lot of great work being done by a lot of great people.
Thank you. Councillor McGinn?
So in many ways, I want to echo what's already been said and then add another point. So if you're the sort of person that is pro-vaccination and wants to have the vaccine, do continue calling in. Yes, it is new. And I will say that that getting it up and running is absolutely tremendous. It's a phenomenal job. In history, there's been blood donor clinics, and there was a couple of times where they said no, and that was at the beginning of COVID. So, the things that have been put in place, our rec center is a safe place. So if you're choosing to go, it's the availability of the vaccine for one, the quantity, its shipment, where it is. So we're talking about capacity. I just wanted to be clear. Capacity is not only about the capacity for the system to take your call, but it is also the availability and the distribution of a vaccine. There's also choices that are being made about whom it is that have the option of being accepted for the vaccine. So please, understand, if you want it, keep calling. Yes, get your name in there, because if you want it, there may be a larger amount of the actual vaccine available. Thank you to everybody who is being patient through this, and I wish everybody well.
Thank you very much, Councillor McGinn. Any other, Councillor Main?
I just want to piggyback again. Thank you so much. I mean, this is almost a year ago since we were talking about trying to offer up anything that we can do. So having municipal facilities as a vaccination clinic, again, to Mr. Berrio and Mr. Roche, kudos again. Such hard work. I just want to say what a powerful image that was, seeing the helicopter land on Bosley First Nation on Friday, delivering the vaccines. It was just incredible. And so our hearts go out to St. Teresa's with the outbreak there. I'm, as a graduate from St. Teresa's, all the staff and students affected, we wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Any other questions, comments to the CEO? Thank you very much, Mr. General. Oh, I apologize. We have one more for you. Don't go. Councillor Gordon.
Thanks. I'm just something that came across my feed. I just thought it'd be interested to know, and we could save it for the announcement sections, but it's COVID, and it's from our MPP, Jill Dunlop, and it's a service where you can actually get a text message alerting you that you're eligible to receive the vaccine. So just to kind of piggyback on what the mayor and everyone else is saying here, I'll just quickly read this. It says, responding to the increasing number of calls and emails I or she's been receiving about vaccine availability and difficulties accessing information from the public health unit, she's launched a COVID-19 vaccination notification service today. There's a link on her website to where to sign up for this service. And it says the online vaccine notification service offered through my office for residents of Simcoe North will provide you with a message via email and or text when you're eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. When the time comes, we'll send you an email and text link so you can book your COVID-19 immunization appointment. It's that simple. To sign up for the alert for your ability, the sign up is an alert of your ability to book an appointment only. You must book your own appointment. So they can't book on your behalf. So that's a service for people who maybe are challenged with logging on constantly and trying and finding when they're eligible. That's being graciously offered by Jill Dunlop's, I guess, her constituency office through her website. So that may be something we want to share on the town. I'll share it on my social media, but the town may want to. I think it's a great idea. I know I tried unsuccessfully to book for my mother.
Great point,
Anyway.
Councillor.
So anyway, for what it's worth, thank you for ongoing efforts. And I too am very happy to see the Sports and Rec Center being used like this.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. That's a great point, and hopefully we can get that up on our website and share. I see a nod from Mr. Deneau. That'd be great. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. And I'm glad we got to you. I would hate to miss that information. Thank you. So next up, we have notice of motion, and I know your worship, you have a notice of motion, so I will turn it over to you. I want to remind council, very rarely do we bring a notice of motion forward and we vote on it on the same day, but I think this one is one that I think you would all agree. We will need a 2/3 vote in order for it to pass though. And so that would be 6 out of 9. But as I said, I don't think it would be a problem. Your worship, it's all yours. Please bring to the table a notice of motion.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I think actually we need a 2/3 vote to consider it ahead of the actual. So
I apologize. That's what I was referring to.
Can I ask a show of cards from council if they are willing to entertain the notice of motion and debate it this evening?
I see that's unanimous.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So what I have here is actually something that's grown out of a lot of council commentary in terms of the feedback they're getting from the community with respect to some small businesses not being able to open under the lockdown. And there was an email by the City of Barrie's mayor to the Premier, to the Attorney General, to a number of MPPs, Dr. Gardner, which basically acknowledges the need to contain the virus, but in the context of the lockdown is asking the province to reconsider the conditions under which people are able to operate. And so what is going to be put on the table now is hopefully a distillation of everybody's thoughts around the need to control the virus, not as something that's second guessing the Premier, nor as a second guessing Dr. Gardner, but rather it's asking them to take another look at how they might allow individuals in a broader context and small business to open, as long as they can demonstrate a framework. So if we are permission, Deputy Mayor, I'll read the motion. So it's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Olszewski. It reads, whereas the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit has the largest number of UK variant cases in the province, with 190 local cases tested positive for the COVID-19 variant of concern, UK B117, and another 309 cases screened positive and are awaiting confirmatory testing. And whereas our region has been moved into the grey lockdown level of the provincial response framework due to a surge in the cases of B117, the UK variant, COVID-19 in Barrie, throughout Simcoe County and the District of Muskoka. And whereas the emergency brake is a short-term measure meant to help to stop the spread of COVID-19 and to protect public health and the health system capacity in our region. And whereas under the emergency brake, all retail environments are able to remain open with reduced capacity, while other small businesses cannot remain open with the same protective measures in place. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Midland supports the request of Mayor Jeff Lehman, City of Barrie, in his recent letter to Ontario Premier Doug Ford, Dr. Charles Gardner, Medical Officer of Health for the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit, and MPPs Doug Downey and Andrea Kanjan. And further, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Midland requests that the province immediately reconsider the business restrictions within the grey lockdown category of the framework to permit equity for all small businesses to remain open that demonstrate that they can operate within the protocols dictated by the framework. So that's the motion I would like to put before Council. It's basically very expressly asking that the province broaden the number of businesses that are permitted to operate as long as they can demonstrate that they can operate within the framework that's in force at the time. So that's the motion, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And I'll go on to questions and comments. I see Councillor Olszewski and then Councillor Downer. Councilor Chesky, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Your Worship, for bringing this forward, and thank you for leading us on this charge. I think it's very important that you are the leader in this message, and I think it's very important that we all stand together for our small business. Rather than state all my opinions and tell you how I feel about this, I'd rather read the BIA letter to council today with your permission, and it'll likely take about a minute at a time, but I think the message comes from people who are emotionally vested and financially vested and struggling here. So if I could just have a minute of your time.
Please share. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Thank you.
Changing tabs during a Zoom meeting. This is high tech stuff. Okay, here I am. So this is from the BIA, addressed to Premier Ford, MPP Jill Dunlop, and Dr. Gardner. The Downtown Midland Business Association represents over 130 mostly small, independent, and hardworking businesses. The recent announcement of Simcoe Muskoka moving into a third lockdown is devastating for many within our membership, as well as outside our geographic boundaries. We are requesting that the restrictions within the gray lockdown zone be immediately revised to allow small business, especially those in the personal service industry, who are already following restriction and health guidelines and who pose little to no public health risk, to remain open. If all retail environments are able to remain open with reduced capacity, there seems little reason why other small businesses, particularly in the personal service industry, cannot remain open with the same protective measures in place. Your swift action can help save a number of small businesses in Midland and the rest of the Simcoe Muskoka region. With the decision to move our region into another lockdown a mere 2 weeks after allowing businesses to reopen, many of these businesses now face cash flow deficits and financial losses after restocking their inventories, onboarding staff, and investing massive amounts of money into overcompliance of health and safety regulations. The Downtown Midland BIA and its membership understand the delicate balance between ensuring the protection of public health and economic health. A clear imbalance is evident with large chain retailers being allowed to stay open while they consistently report cases and have a corporate framework to support them, while small businesses whose owners vest their own dollars for overcompliance and rarely report any cases are faced with these restrictions again. With urgency, we are requesting that you immediately revise the restrictions within the gray lockdown zone to allow small businesses that have been operating under strict health and safety requirements, lower occupant capacities based on regulation, and their own comfort for service that they provide who pose little to no public health risk to remain open. Thank you for your time. Scott Campbell, Chair of the BIA. So I just wanted to read that for the public. I know it's in our council information package, and I just thought it was a great letter. I certainly align with it. And instead of me pouring out my thoughts, I thought it was much more important to come from the people that it truly impacts. So I support them. I support peaceful protest. It was interesting to see my best friend in pictures marching around with a sign. So this hits very close to home. We're a small town. We're a very tight-knit community, and my heart's with everybody. And be kind to each other.
Thank you very much, and well said, Councillor Chesky. And thank you to the BIA for that letter. Councillor Downer?
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I support a letter to the Premier and to the MPP. I know what these people are going through. I was a small business owner on the main street. As a matter of fact, I sat there this afternoon on the main street in my vehicle watching things, and it's pretty dire. And I can appreciate where they're coming from, but we must respect the rule of law. And in sending the information to the Premier and the MPP, if we can change their minds, I'm all for it. Otherwise, I think we have to respect what Dr. Gardner has on the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Downer. Councillor McGinn?
I support the letter. Honestly, I'm a little upset at the beginning part. Now they can look up the stats themselves. So it's the truth, but they can look up the stats themselves. So I support that. I support the peaceful protests. I support people who are there's there's challenges that are out there about how you're going to support your local. I support that. And I feel you. I hear you. You're afraid. And we're here, and this is the layer of government where we are to advocate for you. We are to be your voices. So I'm here saying, I support you. It's a little bit sad that there's a deputation that was put in, but it didn't get in time. So it's going to come in 2 weeks' time. Graham Wickstead, and it came out of a petition from the community, and we all see it. It's the gray hand. So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of community members out there that are getting together and they're petitioning, saying, come on, we need you to be our voices. We need you to speak up for us. We need you to believe us and invest in us. And so, just to help us to thrive. Well, maybe it's not even thrive, just survive. So I support this letter. We'll see whether, the deputation, there's going to be people who'll speak, and I'm looking forward to it. I wish it was today. That's the process. Councillor Olszewski, thank you for reading that letter aloud for the public. I appreciate that. Councillor Downer, yes, I remember your tea shop. Thank you very much for personalizing. I appreciate that. And to the people whom are out there, yes, as Councillor Olszewski said, let's be kind to each other. Let's try to support each other. Let's try to keep each other safe. Let's do what we can. And right now, today, my fellow council members, my brothers, my sisters, we have an opportunity to speak up for the residents. And thank you to those of you who already have. And I look forward to hearing from everybody else and seeing where this goes.
Thank you, Councillor McGinn. Councillor Main, then I'll have Councillor Gordon.
Thank you. I'll be brief. We had a very productive discussion last night at the BIA board meeting. Thank you again to Scott Campbell for putting some of those thoughts into words and getting the letter to us. Thank you again to Mayor Strathern for putting this motion on the floor. Yes, it's a very difficult time. I know some people are affected disproportionately to this. Some businesses are able to continue on without restriction. Others are being impacted. And I just wanted to give some additional context. If we are going to continue lockdown and having the trade-off of livelihoods versus lives, we have to continue to have compensation. And so thank you to the province of Ontario for the Ontario Small Business Support Grant and the Main Street Relief Fund. But I guess the request would be to expedite that. Apparently, it still takes a couple of weeks to process those payments. And so if there were still going to be lockdown and people are going to be impacted, to enhance funding for those affected businesses using those provincial tools. At the municipal level, we do not have the financial tools to be able to offer that level of support. So again, we're turning to the province and pleading for assistance for impacted businesses. And so also, again, there was comment about additional funding for Digital Main Street. And many of our businesses downtown have taken advantage of that, not once, but twice over the last few years. And many have thought that has found that that's very helpful to rapidly adapt their businesses to be able to offer online delivery or curbside businesses, and also just to enhance their digital presence. So this is a very important discussion that we're having. And I thank you again for everyone's input on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Councillor Gordon?
Thank you very much. So I've been approached by many of these businesses, as I'm sure you all have, sharing their stories of pain and desperation. And the one thing that that resonates the most with me is that I get it. I was a small business owner for many years. My wife still operates a small business, and this is unprecedented. And it pains me to have to tell people that the rules and the laws are what they are, and we do not, as a municipality, have any direct input into the health unit declarations or what the province decides to do. And I support this act of solidarity. That's really, it's a token gesture, but I know it means an awful lot to our community to see us take this stand together. I do 100% support it, but I also want to temper that with the reality that we can't call off the hounds. We can't direct our OPP partners to look the other way. We can't ask our bylaw officers to, not do their duty and enforce laws and rules that are in place. Some of them may have their own personal feelings and they hate their job and they hate going there and doing this stuff, but they have to because that's their duty. So while I wholeheartedly support people's right to protest and do so peacefully, I think the petitions going around are wonderful. I think adding our voice to the chorus from municipal, federal politicians and our other councils in Simcoe County, I think it's the right thing to do, and that is what we can do collectively as a council. But that's about the limit of our ability. So I do support people. If you choose to open and roll the dice, and that's the way I've characterized it in my communications with people, you do so at your own risk, whether or not it's actually going to end up it actually will get to court or whether it'll get dropped by these are all gambles that I don't know if you're really prepared to take. So from a municipal standpoint, we get it, we hear you. I think what you're seeing tonight and hearing tonight is that we support you and we'll do everything within our power, which is very limited, to do what we can. And we're collectively going to hope and pray that you're going to make it through this and that perhaps the government will see the light and change their position on it. But the one thing I wanted to be super clear about tonight, above supporting the rule of law, sounds not a position I can change, after my entire adult life working in it, is that I don't want this letter to be seen tonight by Dr. Gardner and his staff and the people working as some type of vote of non-confidence, because it is not. And this is not an attack against science or the reality of this pandemic. And what we're asking for is just, a different approach to this lockdown that is measured and makes sense to the people that have to voluntarily comply. Because at the end of the day, this is all voluntary compliance. And we've largely lost the will by most of our society to comply now. I mean, people are just so tired of it. Their patience of wearing thin. Normally, sane, rational, law-abiding people are making really different decisions and having different conversations. So that was my key takeaway, is that by supporting this tonight, which I will wholeheartedly, that this is not a condemnation against the health unit, Dr. Gardner, his team, or the medical professionals that continue to guide the government. This is a political thing, and ultimately the decision to change the parameters if they choose to will be political. And that's my only message to the community. So I stand in solidarity with you and will happily vote yes to this tonight.
Thank you very much, Councillor Gordon. Councillor Prost, and then I have Councillor Cunningham.
I want to echo everything that was said tonight. I agree with all of it. And I appreciate the peaceful protesters. I went down to see them today, and it was very nice to see. And they're really just looking for the change in what our lockdown means and how we make it work and they can still open. The letter from the BIA and the motion tonight, I completely support. My hand will be up, and I really hope we get the change that we're looking for and be able to do it properly and keep everybody safe and keep people working. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Prost. Councillor Cunningham.
Thank you. And of course, I speak in favor of this as well. And I thank you, Your Worship, and Councillor Olszewski for bringing this forward, and all council for supporting this. I just want to also point out that our businesses have taken advantage of the knowledge, the wisdom, and the support of our health unit, who has worked so diligently to train all of our small businesses on their capacity, on their PPE, on their requirements. This is a very rational, reasonable request that businesses be respected, to be acknowledged that they have these resources and the ability to take care of themselves, their staff, and their customers. And we've seen so much evidence of the respect that they are giving to the restrictions. This is high time that this be really reviewed from that standpoint of, now that we've had all this time to do this training, let's let those businesses that are doing their part open back up and follow these rules. We know that we can take action that results in containment within reason, right? And it is that within reason. I know many of you may be celebrating with me today that the Waypoint outbreak is over. I get to see my husband's face after 6 weeks and without a mask. So I'm very excited about that. And they did an incredible job of keeping that contained. You would barely know it was in the community because we are able to take those respectful actions. And I think it is disrespectful that that is not at this point, so many months into this pandemic, being considered. So I have high hopes that this will be considered and reviewed by our provincial government and change will ensue. And if you have not taken advantage of that wealth of resources from the health unit for your business, do it now with your fingers crossed that we'll have some results soon.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cunningham. Your Worship, if I could, I'd like to say a couple words and then I'll turn it back to you. I just wanted to echo everybody's statement. I want to thank you, and especially Councillor Gordon. Of course, this is not anything to do any fault or any harm or any misjudgment on Dr. Gardner. I think we all respect and appreciate the tough job this gentleman has to do. Who would have thought a year later we would still be talking about this pandemic? And you know what? It really breaks my heart that law-abiding citizens are considering that they are going to do something to break the law. I please ask you, we are here to help. We are going to do everything we can for the Premier and Dr. Gardner to try to listen to and help you out, but you're not helping anyone by breaking the law, and you're definitely not helping yourself. And you know, Midland, in my eyes, is a great town with great people, and we can get through this together. I never thought ever that we'd still be here a year later, let alone, I don't even know when when it's going to end. It could be much longer than even another year. I don't know. None of us know. This is uncharted territory, but I just encourage, please, Midland, we're such a strong, great town with the greatest people I've ever met, and I know we can do it. Let's just keep, and if somebody's out there, they need help, reach out, start a little GoFundMe page. Midland's got some great people. If you find yourself, you can't make that rent, we're here people will help. I promise you, this is one great town. So please, I'm begging, let's just try to join hands and try to get through this. I hear your pain, I feel it myself, but I just, we got to get through this together. And I think Midland, more than any place, is the strongest town, and we can do it. So please, guys, let's do what we can, please. Your Worship, and I'll be asking for a recorded vote, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Clearly, I think people in the community have heard that council is behind them. I think it's very important to point out the role of Dr. Gardner. His role is to provide scientific advice, but he's also responsible for ensuring the health of the district, so the Muskoka District Health Unit, in monitoring the situation, ensuring that this virus, which is extremely contagious, doesn't get out of control. One need to look no further, as the CAO said, than Roberta Place to understand just how contagious it is. Virtually the entire facility, regardless of the safeguards that were put in place, contracted the virus, and a significant number of deaths, and it happened in a very short period of time. I have family living in the United Kingdom, and Prime Minister Johnson relaxed over the Christmas holiday for 3 days, and the virus just took off. It inundated. They had to open up the Nightingale hospitals because of the overflow of COVID folks. And I know our medical officers of health, you heard the CAO tonight say that the GTA area is now asking for a lockdown. And I think you listen to Dr. Brown, who's the modeler, the chief science advisor for the province. I listened to him just the other day on CBC, and it was clear that man was frightened of what could happen if we don't keep it contained. So that just speaks to, and the very simple things, virtually everybody you listen to as an epidemiologist says the same thing. Wash your hands, wear a mask, keep socially distant. You'll find people who will tell you, I don't know of anybody who had the flu this year, and it's because people are doing that. So don't let your guard down. We have more vaccines coming. We are opening up facilities. Dr. Gardner is keeping a handle on things. The Premier meets with the mayors virtually every Friday. Every mayor in the province is on that call, and as well as General Hillier. And they are working to refine the system to the extent that they can and make sure we get these vaccines out to everybody. And I believe that they are listening. So the tone of the conversation over the weekend, as I saw it, from various mayors across Simcoe County, ranged from toxic in some cases, as far as I'm concerned, to very reasoned and rational approaches and suggestions, such as the letter from Mayor Lehman from Barrie, which this motion tries to emulate, which is to ask the Premier to look at how we can enable our businesses, as long as they can meet the prescribed processes within the framework, to stay open. I got my hair cut 2 weeks ago. I was absolutely flabbergasted at the extent to which that facility treated the situation seriously, cleaned up all the stations meticulously. And I personally think that if people are willing to do that, they should be allowed to conduct their business. That's my personal opinion. I don't think the Premier would disagree. Let's give them a chance to hear our voice. I would echo Deputy Mayor Ross in saying, this is the way you get things done. Civil disobedience, take a look at Washington, January 6th. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Peaceful protest, express your opinions, placards, out in the street, that's great. But don't go and break the law. It's just a road you don't want to go down. So I think that the council is very supportive of small business in the community. As Councilor Main said, this is a fabulous community. I grew up here. My family's been here for, I don't know how long, since 1875 or something like that. So, and I have siblings living here. They interact within the community just like you and I do. And we all want everybody to be safe. We also want people to make a living as best they can. To Councillor Main's point, the federal government announced today that CERB and rent subsidies will continue through June. So the federal government is continuing to pour money into the economy to support people. And as Councillor Cunningham said, there are the health unit as well as EDC&S, as well as the Economic Development Office at Simcoe County and the Community Futures Group are there, and Chamber, EIA, to provide advice to people how to access those if they don't know how. So I'm glad to be able to put this on the table on behalf of council, where we speak, I think, with one mind and in support of business and in support of the efforts of Dr. Gardner to keep us safe and contain that virus so it doesn't get away and bring about Dr. Brown's worst fears as he models it out. And with that, I will, I guess, turn it back to Deputy Mayor Ross.
Thank you very much. I'll allow one more. I saw Councillor McGinn something to add, because I'd like to call a vote and make this official. If you could, your last comment, please. Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to thank Mr. Mayor for the comment you made about there not being flu cases, and it's because of people washing their hands, and because of people being. I've been told before that sometimes I can't be heard. And people being diligent, and I believe you're absolutely correct. I think it's something that we see when we go into a small business, where there's a proprietor, and there's one or two staff members, and they are able to have eyes on. They're not in the back of this huge box store, and they don't see whether the person actually washes their hands properly. So thank you for bringing that up, because it goes to support small businesses. Thank you for bringing up the comment about Roberta Place, because it reminds me that our small businesses are not Roberta Place. They're not a whole bunch of people together. So I appreciate you bringing that up. I understand that you were speaking to the variant. but our small businesses are not housing frail members of our community in groups, and there aren't multiple groups coming in. So it speaks volumes, and I appreciate that you would bring that up. It's, pardon?
Would I be able to call the vote?
Oh,
sorry. Sorry. Were you not finished? I apologize. You were sort of lagging there on my end, so I thought you'd stopped. I apologize.
No, I wasn't lagging. I was pausing. I appreciate the things that people have brought up, and in the ways that they have brought them up, there are things that we could say or speak to that are scary, but our small businesses are not scary. They have the opportunity to look at a person and say, this is what needs to be done for you to enter this establishment. So thank you for the comments that people brought up that speak to that.
Sorry, I apologize for cutting off there, Councillor McGinn. Thank you very much and well said. And I'd ask the clerk to call a recorded vote.
Okay, Deputy Mayor, members of council, sorry. You've heard the question. When I call your name, please answer yes or no. Councillor McGinn. Okay. Councillor Olszewski.
Wholeheartedly, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Main.
Yes.
Councillor Ross or Deputy Mayor Ross.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Downer.
Yes.
Councillor Cunningham.
Yes.
Councillor Prost.
Absolutely, yes.
Councillor Gordon.
Indubitably, yes.
And Mayor Strathern.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion is carried unanimously.
Wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll move on to general announcements. Anyone have an announcement they'd like to bring forward this evening? Councillor Main.
Yes, I just want to give a shout out to Georgian Bay District Secondary School. They have a play, and they knew obviously since last year, since the fall, that they weren't going to be able to have in person. So they found a play that had been adapted to be a digital performance. And so the performances will be March 10th, 11th, and 12th. And it's the Brothers Grimm Spectaculathon, if that's how you say it. And so they have a wonderful, basically a Zoom theater, but they'll have a little bit more control. Instead of just seeing little squares, they can zoom in and out. They're using software to highlight and switch between the characters. So shout out to the high school and all the students putting that together. Look forward to that. And that's some great digital content for people that are staying at home. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Main. Any other? Councillor Gordon.
So now, thank you very much. Now a plea to the businesses that can be open or that are choosing to be open, please support them. We need to shop local more than ever. I know this has been an ongoing resounding plea from everybody. And I know that Midland for the most part is answering the call, but just now is that they really need us more than ever right now. So even if you've got plenty of food at home and you're ready to cook, consider, doing the curbside. Shop local, support the local businesses as much as you can. I'll drive home even with, barely any gas just to make sure I buy gas in Midland. Just every little bit helps, guys. We really, really, really need it. And so that's my only announcement and plea. And I know I'm not alone in that. Thank you.
Well said. Thank you. Mayor Strathern.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. There is going to be a Your Health session at Midland Cultural Center dealing specifically with vaccines and vaccination. I don't have the date. If anybody knows it, please chime in. But it's dealing with a subject which, of course, is very relevant and germane, particularly given the conflicting advice we're hearing from NACI, which is one advisory body in the federal government, and the Public Health Agency as being another advisory regarding AstraZeneca. And I'm not a medical expert by any stretch, but the information coming out of the UK, particularly England and Scotland, as well as Israel, would suggest that the efficacy of that drug is huge in the seniors population. But never mind what I have to say. I would suggest that you tune in. It's virtual. Go to the MCC website and have a look. It's coming up in about 2 weeks, I believe, about the 25th, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it'd be well worth watching to understand people debate the efficacy of the various vaccines that are either approved or about to be approved, and what we can expect throughout the vaccination program. So I would encourage you to do that.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Any other announcements? I have one if I could. I just wanted to take the time to thank the people that have stepped up and come out of retirement. There's a lot of Midlanders, and I had the pleasure of talking to a former councillor, Jim Atwood, who retired many years ago, and he's now stepped up. He told me, I'm out of retirement. I'm now giving out the COVID-19 vaccine in Barrie, which is unbelievable. And I hear these stories all over. People from Midland and our area stepping up, and former nurses, former doctors, and we're in dire needs to get this vaccine going. So I just, I feel important to especially thank those people for, coming out of retirement. The retirements are your golden years, and you're supposed to be relaxed, and they're getting up every morning and, vaccinating our population. So special thanks to them. Special thanks to them. So we'll move on to the next item. Oh, Mayor Strathern, last announcement.
It's just a follow on to what I was saying earlier. Somebody was gracious enough to send me the actual information about when it will be. It is the 25th of March. It will be broadcast by Rogers Television starting at 7:30 in the evening. So if you've got a moment, make some popcorn, sit down, and find out all about vaccines and vaccination.
Wonderful. I think we all need to watch that. Thank you so much. All right, next up on the agenda is moved by Councillor Cunningham, second by Councillor Prost, that the Committee of the Whole rise and report. All those in favor? So carried. Off to you. You're back to your formal session, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Donner, seconded by Councillor Cunningham, that the recommendations of the Committee of the Whole for the meeting of March 3rd, 2021 be adopted as resolutions of Council. Comments or questions from Council? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. That carries again unanimously. So I also have, so now we move into motions for which notice was given, and I have a motion to put on the floor. And so I guess I'll turn it back to Deputy Mayor Ross.
Yes, you have a motion, sir?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I do. And it reads as that as a community relief measure, staff be directed to examine the implications of waiving tax, interest, and penalties for the report to be brought forward to a future meeting for consideration. It's sort of analogous to what we did last year without actually changing the dates, because apparently that causes unbelievable consternation amongst the people who have to manage that. So we can affect the same thing by just waiving the penalty. So
looks like we have some great discussion for in 2 weeks' time.
Well, that's correct. Yeah. So yes. I think it's a worthy of our support. So
yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
No, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. I have a motion moved by Councillor Gordon, seconded by Councillor Olszewski. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, actually, this is a motion for which notice was given, so we can pass it tonight.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought you were bringing. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so you need a mover and a seconder. We have a mover. Sorry, do you want to read it again for me? I apologize.
Sure. So it's.
I was a little confused there.
Moved by myself and seconded by, who would like to second this?
I see Councillor McGinn.
Thank you. That as a community relief measure, staff be directed to examine the implications of waiving the tax interest and penalties for the report to be brought back forward to a future meeting for consideration.
Any questions or comments with regards to that item? Councillor Main.
Thank you for that, bringing this forward. I just wanted to add a comment. We were getting some feedback from one resident last year who greatly appreciated the flexibility and responsiveness of staff to, instead of having municipal taxes paid quarterly, having them broken into monthly payments. So if that option isn't a normal option, it's very much appreciated to extend that option to everyone, or at least notify the community of what are the available options currently. Because yeah, anyways, thank you.
Thank you, John. Councillor Main. Councillor Gordon?
Thanks for bringing this motion forward. It's good. I mean, anything we can do to help relieve our residents. Of course, as we're going to see, I'm sure in the report, there is a cost to this to some degree, and there's always some risk. And these are the things that we're prepared to do, I'm pretty sure, for this community. So anyway, I look forward to the report, and I'm glad you brought it up. And it's kind of timely that it's added on to this, that just kind of coalesces with that motion in solidarity with our small businesses that can't open right now. So right on. Nice to see.
Wonderful. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Looks like passed. We'll look forward to that report. Thank you very much. Your worship, I'll hand it back over to you, sir.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, sorry, I apologize. Yes.
Did we get a seconder for that motion?
Yes, it was seconded by Councillor McGinn.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Council. Another arrow in the quiver to support our businesses. So I have a motion moved by Councillor Gordon, seconded by Councillor Olszewski, that bylaw 2021-7, being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of the regular council meeting with closed session held March 3rd, 2021, be passed and enacted. Comments or questions from council with respect to the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. And it's an evening of unanimity. Wonderful. So I have a motion by Councillor Prost, seconded by Councillor Main, that this regular meeting of council with closed session adjourn at 8:12 p.m. All in favor? I think it's also an evening for records. I don't think we've ever called a meeting this early. So
Yeah.
congratulations.
Have a good
Hey,
evening.
everyone.
Word that we
Thank
can
you.
do them all that way. Be safe.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night. Get to go see my husband.
Yay!
Vaccine, 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 vaccine.